So Pranjal, like you have been at Udan solving fraud and abuse and a lot of other use cases in the past 3 years. Uh, can you be specific about like pick a use case and how do you go about doing things in Udan? So data comes in, let's say through some pipeline, and you have the data with you. What is the process that you usually employ to convert that data into a meaningful decision?
Yeah, sure. So I think the approach is, I think it's like a template which I believe most of the DS folks follow. Uh, so it starts with just getting a dump of data and understanding, okay, what is there, what is not there, right? And even before that, let me also talk about it. That for a data scientist, how it has evolved over a period of time is that, as you said, right, it has to be a data-driven decision. Now, earlier when data science just started, people used to make decisions in silos, right? They just built models, uh, deployed models, and that's it. Now a data scientist role is more nuanced, right? People have to talk to different stakeholders, gather the requirements, and translate that into a solvable data science problem. It could also mean just splitting the problem into multiple small problems. So as soon as we get a data, right, the first responsibility is to just get a sense, okay, whatever we are trying to build here, do we have all the relevant data points available? And when we started at Udan, actually a lot of data points even did not exist, right? So all it started was with getting those instrumented, be it in the app, be it on the data platform side, right? Wherever it is possible. Once you have that, that itself is a long journey. I'm just cut shorting it. So once that is done, the next step is basically data quality, because even though when we have a lot of data points, some of those probably might not be meaningful because of the presence of a lot of null values, something which is beyond the normal range, right? Data range. So after that, the journey of a data scientist actually begins, right? Which is doing a lot of feature engineering, whether those features which you have created are actually going to impact your end result or not. And if I'm talking about feature engineering, I think one of the very core things, or one of the very important luxuries we had at Udan was we had built the feature store in this due course, right? Probably we'll come to that in later point of time. Yeah, that's the feature engineering. I think that itself takes, like, this whole journey itself takes more than 60 to 70% of the time. And then another important point probably which you have to decide is whether this model is going to emit results in real time, or is it just that the end consumer is going to consume the outputs in a batch mode, which is, let's say, every 24 hours, 1 month, or whatever it could be any duration. And as per that, you have to build your model. Now if it's a batch, then probably the latency is not a very big constraint, right? And you can obviously go ahead and build any complicated model. But if latency is a constraint, then the different set of model choices kick in, and then you have to build it accordingly. I'll just give a very, very simple example, right? So let's say if you have a very, very small latency, then probably a complex model such as a graph, although graph neural network models do work in real time, but then the type of data and the type of feature engineering you do is very, very different. So you have to select that, okay, probably the graph neural network is not going to be my cup of tea in this problem statement, and probably just take a very, very basic model, or model such as random forest and things in place, right? So yeah,
Right.
that's the model decision. How do you want to build?
So let's I think for if less tech savvy people are watching this, then for them let's take an example. So let's say I have through and ordered box of iPhones, and instead of iPhones I've gotten bunch of rocks, right? And similarly, there might be a ton of other customers who might have genuinely faced this issue, or there could be few customers who might have faked it, like have actually gotten iPhones, but I've said that I gotten rocks, right? So assume that this is the problem statement. So then, how does the data actually travel in and get into the stage where you are pre-processing it, generating the features? So let's discuss that part first.
Yeah, so for us, data largely comes through, I'll call as four different sources, although probably a few of them are related. One is whatever we have stored in the past, and in Udan, we store it in a Delta Lake format, right? So that's like the old historical data.
Yeah.
Second is some of the use cases requires us to consume external CSV files because a lot of teams don't work in probably don't interact with systems, so that data is not systemized. So they typically work in Excel and all. So you have to be ready to consume CSVs. Then the third is a stream of events. These events typically come from the app. Let's say you want to track session history, right? A person who is probably trying to do fraud, they'll just take the order, or they'll just receive the order when it is delivered and just return it instantaneously. So you'll have to look at those time durations, what is the activity on the app and all. And then fourth is probably the API call, which is basically which is calling your model, right? That also gives you some kind of data inputs for the model to consume. So I'll categorize this into these four buckets.
Right. So what essentially is also coming out is the real-time app events that are signifying the behavior just before the order placed. That is very vital for this pipeline
Yes.
in this specific example. Got it. And
It is very,
also,
very important for fraud as well. I'll say that is one of the most important, because a lot of frauds we have seen historically are very, very fast moving, as in they just order within like span of minutes, right? Few minutes. And
right.
if you are not capturing those stream of events, probably you'll lose out on the money.